Namaste and greetings once again. Unity of Bellevue. Come on now, put your hands up. Come on, come on. Celebrate. So it is really good to be with you once again this morning. And for those of you who know me, let me ask you a question. Are you ready to begin today's practice? Okay, I'm gonna take that to be a yes. So as we jump into today's practice, because you know me, you know the first thing I'm going to ask you then is in this theme today, hope, faith, and action, the Trinity of manifestation. Like that's our call, our action plan to demonstrating peace in the world, right? Hope, faith, and action. The Trinity of manifestation. That is our call. And it's not just a call like, hey, what's up? How's it going? It's what Cindy sang recently. It's my practice. It's what I do every day. So this idea of Advent, yes, while it is celebrated at this time of year, the concept, the energy of Advent can be practiced, and we are called to practice it every day. But Reverend Ray, I hear what you're saying, but what is this thing called Advent? Well, did you know that the etymology of the word Advent references an important arrival? Now, traditionally, the arrival was the coming of Christ. But for us, while that does apply, let's be mindful that when we talk about something arriving, what are we talking about? What is the thing that is arriving? And be mindful that the word adventure has the word Advent in it. So what's the common denominator here? Because adventure means something that occurs, an event that is happening, to come, to go, to travel, to risk. It is some perilous, quote unquote, perilous undertaking, a novel or exciting incident, action, something marvelous that is going on in our lives. That's what Advent is representing. Now, when we pause and we ask then, well, so one, what is this marvelous thing? Two, what is this thing that we are risking? What is this perilous thing when we are wandering, when we are seeking, when we are taking a chance? Pause, breathe. Because see, oftentimes we think this spiritual path it's all, gumdrops, unicorns, rainbows, daisies, and Skittles. Like it's all good, it's all sweet. And yet there are times when it is deeply uncomfortable because we must shed and let go of who we think we are to become who we truly are. Well, who are we truly? We are divine incarnations of the One. So when we say that we are seeking, right? Advent gives us this opportunity to recognize we are invited to seek that which already is. We are invited to come home to a place that we never left. And we are invited to risk, to take a chance by allowing the truth of our being to come forward and become our daily lived experience. So if I were to ask you, well, what do you want? What do you want to manifest? What do you want to experience in your life for yourself? What do you want for your family? What do you want for your friends? What do you want for your community, your neighbors, your city, your state, the country, the continent, the planet? What do you want to experience? And what do you want each of these others to experience? Are you able to answer that? And are you able to answer with a level of specificity versus the general vagueness which often is spoken? Peace on earth, goodwill to all. Great starting point, but what does that look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What does a world that is moving in this energy of peace and peacefulness, what does it look like? What do schools look like? when they are operating in the energy of peacefulness? What do courthouses look like? What do prison systems look like? What do all of these systems look like when they are governed and operating from the energy of peace and peacefulness? Not simply, wishing and the vagueness of, because we cannot manifest, we cannot demonstrate, we cannot truly shift and heal what we cannot identify. So we have to be able to name it. We have to be able to recognize it. So this Trinity, we say things like, I hope things improve. I hope you get the job. I hope you feel better. But rarely do we pause to sit in the energy of, well, what am I really hoping from? What is the energy of, what am I really saying? I hope, but I'm not sure you will. I hope, but you might not. I hope. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm wishing. And I'm diligently praying, but there has to be a part of me that is not anchored to firm conviction. Because see, for me, hope, H-O-P-E, is holding only, we typically say positive. I don't necessarily like that word, but for the sake of conversation, we'll say positive for a moment. Holding only positive expectation, holding only the potential, infinite potentiality. That is what I am expecting. So when I am hoping, which end of the faith continuum is my energy coming from? The more life-affirming end or the life-denying end? Because see, there's a continuum. We often talk about faith as if it's possible to not have faith. That is impossible. In the same way that it is impossible to not have temperature. Not possible. There's cold, there's heat, and everything in between. A continuum. This end, life-affirming faith, hope, infinite possibility. This end of faith, life-denying, limitation, lack, scarcity, worry, anxiety, and things that are made up in our mind and our belief system and our paradigms. But both of these are faith. Fear is faith in reverse, or the opposite end of the life-affirming faith. Which end are we hoping from? Which end are we stepping into life from? See, someone who says that they don't have faith in God, their faith is in something, whatever the absence of that is, they have faith in that. That might be faith in humanity's ability to do whatever. That may be, I'm a man of science and I have faith in, okay, you don't have faith in God, but you have faith in, there's always faith in something. Pause, take that in for a moment. Because if we are truly going to change and step into this call, this divine activity of peace, then we must recognize where we are living from. Because the etymology of the word hope means to have trust, have confidence, have a certain level of conviction. So when we say, I hope things improve, is the energy coming from a place of, I trust, I know, I am convicted, I have been convinced, and I know, or I am wishing. Fingers crossed. Where is the energy coming from? Pause, breathe. So once again, be mindful that Advent is inviting us to seek what already is. We say that we are seekers on a spiritual path. We are seeking God. We are seeking love. We are seeking joy and seeking health and peace, etc. Yeah, I got that. And that's good. For linguistic convenience, that's all good. But understand that because God is all there is, and it's everywhere present right now, then the peace of God is present right now. The love of God is present right now. The health, the joy, the excitement, the creativity, all of that is present right now because there's not a spot, right? There's not a spot where God is not. So all that is true about God must be true about us, as Ernest Holmes would say. So when we say we are seeking it, are we seeking it outside of us? Are we looking for an anthropomorphic universe to give it to us? Are we looking to an anthropomorphic universe to guide us? The journey starts, temet noske, know thyself. Yeshua said, seek first the kingdom of heaven and all else will be added. The kingdom of heaven is within. What am I looking for? What am I seeking? Can I find it within me? Because if I can't find it within me, then I can run around and I'm not going to find it because I'm looking for love in all the wrong places. Starts with me, starts right here. So then there's this idea of, if it's already, then how do I, as Cindy sang, how do I practice it? How do I practice love and joy? How do I practice health and prosperity? How do I engage in it as a practice? What is my mental equivalent regarding this? How do I engage my spiritual practices regarding this? Do my spiritual practices demonstrate that I am a person who has trust, who is confident, who is convicted in my life-affirming faith? Because if it is, then we are able to step into a new level of awareness, a new level of practical application of Unity's third principle. We are co-creators with God, creating reality through the thoughts held in mind. Pause, breathe. We are co-creators. Now, God is all there is. So we are creating. We, as that which is the divine, we are creating through the thoughts, through the mental equivalent that we have. All four pillars, our thoughts, our words, our emotions and feelings, and our actions. That's how we create. That's how we manifest. That's how we demonstrate. So, you want to manifest peace on earth? Is my mental equivalent aligned with peace on earth? We want to manifest and experience greater health, greater wealth, greater well-being. Is my mental equivalent aligned with? Advent is inviting us to come home to a place that we never left. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. But why? Why is all well? Because, once again, there's not a spot where God is not. God is everywhere, present, always, all times, right now, where you are. Are you able to experience the wellness of knowing that right where you are, God is? Where could we ever go that God is not present? Even when we may doubt or not feel the light of the sun because we are in a dark room in the basement, the sun is still there. And even when it's nighttime where Unity of Bellevue is, the sun is still present in the sky. We simply wait for the revolution, for the earth to move on its axis, and that which is always present avails itself once again to our experience. When we desire to experience the truth of our being, we are being invited to turn our attention to the truth of our being. This is why it says in Psalms, I lift my eyes to the hills, for my help comes from there. I raise my vision. I raise my consciousness, because it is in that elevated, higher consciousness that I have the answers that I seek. Home is right where you are. What did Glenda tell Dorothy? All you had to do was click your heels and say, there's no place like home. You could have been there at the very beginning. Cool. So, right where you are, God is. Right where you are, home is. Right where you are, the kingdom of heaven is. Right where you are, the Christ consciousness is. Right now. Are you living that? Are you practicing that? Are you embodying that? You are a divine incarnation of the One. And because God is all there is nothing you could ever do that would make you any less divine, any less God. You can even choose to lock yourself in a dark room. You can choose to never look at the sun again, but that does not deny the sun what it is, that does not deny the truth of light. You can choose to think small, act small, play small, but understand, beloved, that there is nothing you could ever do that would make that the truth, the whole truth, and only that which is true. You are already what and where God is. So, knowing that, what are you called to do? How do you show up in the world? Faith without action is dead, as it says in the Bible. So saying we have faith is not enough. How are we demonstrating our faith? The Good Samaritan demonstrated his conviction, his confidence, his faith. Today, we are called consciously, actively to become a verb, to become a 21st century New Thought Good Samaritan. What does that mean? What does that look like? How does it feel to move through the world as that? And that's precisely where we come to this idea of risk, because when we step into the full magnificence of who and what we are, as love, as joy, as power, as presence, as all of that stuff, there are going to be people who do not like us. There are going to be people who will not accept us. And that's simply because they don't know the truth of their being yet. But does that mean we dim our lights? Does that mean we go back to playing small? No. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't say, well, there's going to be people who don't like me, so let me go back to the pulpit and only speak to the congregation. No. Gandhi didn't. No. Mother Teresa didn't. No. None of these people, these avatars, these bodhisattvas, these revolutionary leaders, none of them went back to playing small, even though they knew people would hate them, even though they knew people would not accept them. They knew that by stepping into their call to peace, stepping into their call, the adventure of this elevated awareness, they knew that by doing so, they were bringing others with them, even those who hate them. They were being swept in and enveloped in the energy of love nonetheless. And they came along for the ride. Are we willing to risk in order to know, in order to grow, in order to evolve? Are we willing to surrender and let go of trauma and baggage and the dark side of the ego? Are we willing to surrender and relinquish all of the addictions, addiction to fear, addiction to food, addiction to whatever substances, addiction to work, addiction to low self-esteem? Are we willing to surrender it to step into a greater way of living? Breathe. On January 24th, 1923, Charles Fillmore said, "Our healing thought for the month is, old thoughts and old conditions are as waters that have passed away. In Christ, I am conscious of a new life. In Christ, I am conscious of new strength and new health. Christ is an idea in the divine mind, and that idea is everywhere, like the idea of mathematics or music or any of the other exact sciences. There is an idea of a perfect Christ in divine mind. There is only one mind, and that mind is God, and the mind that you use is that mind. Therefore, perfect idea, the Christ, is in your mind. It is who and what you are. So, in order to embody it, we must risk. In the same way that if I'm going to learn to play the piano, I must risk playing the wrong notes. If I'm going to learn to dance, I must risk making a mistake in the choreography. If I'm going to learn to cook, I must risk making an error in the recipe. If I'm going to be a mathematician or a scientist, I must risk the errors that will show up in my calculations. And yet, Herbie Hancock tells a story where he says that he's playing with Miles Davis and Herbie hits a wrong note or wrong chord, and Miles stops. And the next few notes that came out of his trumpet made Herbie Hancock's wrong note a right note. Because Herbie Hancock said that the idea, the lesson is, the medicine is in the mistake. So we are invited in this idea of embodying hope, faith, action, love, joy, peace, all of these things, being the Christ, all of these things is about being willing. It's not about pleasing everyone. It's not about any of that. It's about being who and what we truly are. Knowing that we are going to make mistakes, but the medicine is in the mistake if we are willing to breathe and practice, breathe and be confident, breathe and be convicted, breathe. Tat tavam asi, you are the divine. Breathe. Breathe as we enter into this space of meditation. Breathe, recognizing that this divine Ruach Elohim is the breath of God as God breathes itself as you. And as we continue breathing, we breathe knowing that what we seek, we already are. Knowing that we are always coming home to a place that we never left. Knowing that this infinite trinity of hope, faith, and action, the very practices of manifestation, co-creating, demonstrating, are right where we are, and that we are always practicing something. So in this moment, we consciously practice. We consciously accept the call to peace, to not simply speak it, but to think it, and speak it, and type it, and text it, and email it, to let it be the energy of our emotions and our feelings, to forgive, to have compassion, to have empathy, and to act, to show up in the world as the very embodiment of the Christ, the very embodiment of love and joy and peace on earth. And so as we breathe, I conclude by enveloping us in the energy of the Lord's Prayer as spoken in Aramaic. Simply breathe. Avun de bashmaya nitkadish shamuch tete malkutach. Nechwe tibianach ikaneth di bashmaya af ba'arha. Havlan lakma da sunkanan yamana. Washboklan haubein wachtehein ikanadach hanan schwachanail hayabein. Wela tachlen lenesuna. Ele patsen menbisha. Mitu de lache malkuta. Wachela watishbuchta. Ala alam. Almin. Amen. Breathe. You are it. And so it is. Much love.